for me, success is just doing what you love and whatever you're passionate about. If you're able to do it and make a living, then I think you're successful.
I think that's one of those questions that I've wrestled with a lot over the last few years, especially being somewhat of an entrepreneur, being self-employed for the majority of the last decade.
I think to me it's like to be successful is to be doing what you absolutely love and adore at its highest level.
Well, and I'm a Christian, so like I believe that God places His desires in your heart, and that if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then that's success.
There's a certain sense, at least for me, that success has to be internal. It has to be something that you define for yourself. If success is selling $1 million of a product that you invent, then go out and do that. If it's getting married and having some kids, then go out and do that. If it's getting a 401k, you sort of have to decide for yourself what you're about, who you are, what your purpose and mission is.
A lot of people deem success in terms of like monetary value. So like if you're doing what you love and able to sustain yourself with it, that's success. And I think I agree with that on some level.
The world will, I think, try to tell you that success is a certain level of something, or working with a certain level of artists, or whatever it is that you do for a living. But I think if you can't be happy where you're at, you'll never be happy.
If you look back at your life, whether or not you have a huge bank account, you should be able to feel a certain sense of accomplishment with whatever it is that you put your heart and soul into.
I certainly don't think it comes with fame or money or anything like that, because I think it is doing what you love and doing it as best as you can, and being able to do it and earn a living at the same time obviously is another bonus. But yeah, I think that's success.
If you're going to measure success, it has to come from within. If you allow things outside of yourself to measure your success, I think you're setting yourself up for just misery.
I used to be a teacher. And that's a question I don't like very much. Just because I spent a good 6 years of my life deeming what was successful and how successful for children to help them become more successful. So how should it be measured? I think it shouldn't be measured. It's going to be people aren't numbers. If you're going after a goal, however, and you need to continue to motivate yourself or see here's where you started and here's where you're going, that's a different story entirely.
I think there is that really funny thing with award season, isn't there, that they're going, oh, you're great. And I think that's wrong, because there's a million. If you look at performances, say just take the Oscars for example, look at the performances, they're entirely different performances. One's a dramatic performance, one's a comedic performance. They're both equally as excellent. So I think measuring it in that sense of picking one person out and saying you're the best is wrong. I think acknowledging people when they do achieve excellence though is right, and doing that on group scales is right.
It has to be something that you create for yourself. And if the world tries to tell you something is different than a success, and you can't achieve that, then it just makes yourself miserable.
But I think it's very hard to measure success. How do you measure what you perceive as good and what I perceive as good is going to be completely different, isn't it? And when it comes to things like success, so far as some people like without naming names do terrible work that is hugely popular with the public and make millions and millions of pounds, and that's successful. That's to them success. to me, that to me is not successful at all.
If I have a piece of music that I want to get out to the world and I'm just starting to write music, I might deem my success on how many records I sell. And maybe this year I sell 15, and maybe next year I sell 15,000. Like, that would be quite a bit of success with that project.
The first major success, I think, in a lot of people's lives, especially within the world of creativity and what you're passionate about, whatever, is finding something that actually makes your heart sing and then going after it. And the truth is, I mean, I know people that have sold 1 million records but still feel they haven't quite arrived.
What if nobody says you're good for a while, you'd stop doing it, so it has to be measured on the integrity of your work and kind of work you do.
The world will, I think, try to tell you that success is a certain level of something, or working with a certain level of artists, or whatever it is that you do for a living. But I think if you can't be happy where you're at, you'll never be happy.
I think if you are a successful person, meaning that you're motivated and you're going in a direction, as long as you're moving, you're continuing to be successful.
I measure my own success in just really being able to do what I'm passionate about. I really enjoy what I'm doing. If I was stuck behind a desk, which some people love that kind of job, I don't. If I was in that scenario, it'd be very hard for me to feel successful. Even if I was climbing that ladder of business, I don't think I would feel successful. I think I'd feel trapped.
The people that I've seen in the relationships I've had, it's when things get stagnant or too comfortable that that feeling of successfulness and growth ends there.
I would say I have had successes in my life. My first book came out this year, and that was a huge success for me to actually finish something that I started that was that big an undertaking. But I also don't necessarily consider myself a successful author in some ways, because I still have 800 copies of that book sitting in my trunk and in my closet that have yet to be sold. So, and that for me was the goal. The goal is to sell 1,000 books. I don't want to be a New York Times bestseller necessarily. I love all that stuff, but that wasn't the goal. That wasn't success in my mind. Was write a book, sell 1,000 copies, write another book, sell more the next time around.
I believe that I've definitely been successful in life, and I would actually, in that scenario, I think I would turn that word success into blessed, which may be in some cases synonymous, but I think that I've been very blessed to do what I do, to love what I do. I get to do a lot of things that people, I guess, would typically be envious of. And I think the career path that I chose as a video director allows me to almost have like a backstage pass to life.
I don't feel like a failure. I have a number of goals that I haven't yet obtained, but I would say I'm in a time in my life right now where I'm getting in shape. I'm getting in shape personally. That's emotionally, spiritually, physically. After some neglect has happened, or just a lot of busyness. So I've been intentional and focused on those areas. So that's a part of success. It's a part of success to say, I don't like where I am, and this does or doesn't help me get to where I want to go.
Yes, most definitely. my own personal version of success. And like 4 or 5 goals per se, because I don't like setting goals, I like setting things that you hurdles or whatever. But I've achieved 3 of them very, very quickly, and and one after the other, which was quite cool. And to be here on Broadway in a show that I read this play when I was 17, and I loved it. It was like, I have to be on this show. And I'm standing on Broadway doing the most nominated play at the Tonys this year. And you go, what the fuck?